I made a party game called Move or Die, and at one point SnoopDog and Shaq played it against each other in a Twitch tournament. That is just one of those weird stories that happened during the development of the game, and because making games takes a long time, I have a lot of those stories that get lost in time if they are never told, and that's why I'm making this video. It's finally time to tell you those behind the scenes stories that were never told publicly before. So welcome to Move or Die Hindsight. This video was sponsored by Skillshare, the perfect place to go if you have a specific skill you're trying to learn. And given that you're watching my videos, you bet you can find classes on game development in the most known engines. If you're interested in UI and UX classes, Vitaly Friedman got you covered with his course on smart responsive UX design. I actually started using Skillshare long before they reached out to sponsor one of my videos, and I can say I had a lovely experience with it. If you're like me and you want to put a little bit more focus on self-improvement, this is a great opportunity. I was told that there are new premium classes each week, and the entire catalog is available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. So if you want an ad-free experience, check out the link in the description. The first 1,000 people to use that link will get a 1-month free trial. So thanks again Skillshare for being a lovely sponsor, and now back to the video. So, because this was a small indie game made with pocket money and I was like 19 at the time, I didn't even know what marketing was. Therefore, one of the first showcases of Move or Die to the general public was at a local anime convention, where I snuck in with my laptop in my backpack and claimed a free table that no one seemed to be using. I sprinkled some business cards around the laptop to look more official, and that was pretty much it. The game was super janky back then, virtually the first local multiplayer prototype with only like 3 game modes and bare bones placeholder graphics. Whatever friends and strangers ended up trying it seemed to like it though, and I later on befriended the event organizers and got officially invited with a proper booth in the following years. One of them is actually part of the tag team currently running the company from the shadows, so if any of the organizers are watching this, sorry about that. During development, I was trying my best to post updates on the game's dev blog as well as teaser videos on YouTube, but I wasn't really expecting anyone to notice them, really. So a very vivid memory and highlight of that era was when DreamHack hosted a StarCraft tournament in my hometown, and one of the casters was Day9, someone I was actively following and looking up to. And after a match, when people would go to the caster's booth to say hello, I snuck in and gave him one of the game's business cards, which he immediately recognized and pointed out that a friend showed him my videos. That made my day. It completely blew my mind, and it gave me a huge motivation boost to keep working on the game and have him play it one day. I still don't think he played it to this day, but I'm still hoping. Before Move or Die was actually called Move or Die, it was a single-player puzzle platformer called Concern Joe, and after working on it for a while, we've put together a 10-minute demo. And since I've never officially been to a real gaming convention, I figured now is the time to showcase the game to the public in order to get some actual feedback. So I might as well go big and aim for the biggest gaming convention I knew of, which was GDC in San Francisco. Up to this point, I haven't really invested significant amounts of money to market the game, so without knowing, I kind of splurged a bit on this adventure. So I have paid a total of roughly $3,500 for the smallest possible booth on the show floor, and another $2,500 on traveling and housing. There were a lot of extra costs involved if you wanted to decorate your booth with custom graphics, for example, so obviously, smart me, trying to save some money, turned that down, and instead I figured out the exact dimensions of the booth and printed my own graphics at a local print shop where it was much cheaper. I then brought those with me in my luggage, and in order to mount them properly on the booth, I had to go to FedEx and steal some cardboard and duct tape. I'm happy to report that it all worked out in the end, but in hindsight, there would have been much cheaper ways of finding out what people think of my game without going through all of this hassle. Now, aside from me not knowing what I was doing, the funny thing is that I had absolutely no call to action after someone finished that short demo, which is like a huge mistake to make when you do a public showcase. There was no wishlisting on Steam back then, and the game wasn't even out on Steam yet. There was no newsletter, nothing. When players liked the game and asked me where they can find more, I would simply shrug and tell them that the game would come out in like a year or so. I was such an idiot. But all is good, because I also wasted money on a banner ad on the official GDC website in the hopes of making my work feel even more legit. The lengths I go to in order to justify my insecurities. So since that demo was like 10 minutes long, I figured there would be some spectators that have to wait for their turn to play. And since the game was a linear experience, if they end up watching someone else play, they would ruin all the twists in the game for themselves. So I got the brilliantly stupid idea of basically distracting spectators. And with the help of a friend of mine, we have created a mobile app called Move or Die that gives you a health bar and, well, you guess it, it drains if you don't move. Like actually move. That was the entire app. You would have to run away, and at the end you would get a score of how long you lasted, and there was a public leaderboard, and that was pretty much it. I was using the phone's accelerometer to detect acceleration and calculate movement speed over a certain amount of time in order to determine if you were truly moving or not. We also experimented with pulling the GPS system for location data, but that was too slow and inaccurate for a health bar that drains in like 10 seconds. I even accounted for anti-cheat methods preventing the bar from filling up if you simply shake your phone. Now, this app is no longer available on the Play Store, but if you have an Android phone and you really want to try it for yourself, I made the APK file available for the lowest Patreon tier on patreon.com/mentalcheckpoint. So if you want to take it for a spin, go to the link on the screen right now. Anyway, it was really fun to see people react to the realization that they have to actually move after opening the app. This also resulted in some people moving away from our booth and never coming back. Very good distraction indeed. Eventually, we ended up going to more and more events, gradually stepping up my game. At first, my booths were made up of random things I had at home, like using my bed sheets as a tablecloth and borrowing my dad's TV while kindly asking friends if I can borrow their Xbox controllers to return them significantly more greasy. Shortly after, I have upgraded to professionally sourced materials like cardboard and markers. But in the end, Move or Die was showcased across multiple continents and countries, including the US several times, UK, Germany, Austria, Pakistan, France, Romania, Ukraine, Finland, Sweden, Poland, Croatia, Argentina, Russia, Vietnam, Lithuania, Italy, Taiwan, Spain, Netherlands, and my favorite, Japan. For every event I've been to, I have printed various marketing materials, from business cards to those character flyers and a bunch of other stuff. And I always either leave those at the booth for people to simply grab, or I actively spread them around in the crowd, for free, obviously, since they are marketing materials. So imagine my surprised face when I found out that someone was trying to sell our free promotional materials on eBay. And the guy was also asking for 30 whole dollary dues. I was actually considering buying them, but I didn't. Oh, and speaking of marketing materials, while I was designing and printing banners for events, out of boredom, I developed the habit of hiding tiny rocket ships in the artwork of those banners. And even though I kept them super small and pretty well hidden, I got mixed reactions when I showed them to friends. So this is the perfect time to settle this in the comments below. Is this something you would do as well, or am I the crazy one? Because even though I'm almost 30 now, I still think this is funny, and I might still be actively doing it in these videos, so let me know. Another little marketing trick that I was very proud of was figuring out how to capture the players' reactions at events. I was aware that when you develop a party game, a big part of the fun happens outside the game, where players laugh and taunt each other, and I noticed that almost no other game made any efforts to represent that in their marketing efforts. So at one event, I decided to mount a webcam on top of the big screen pointed at the players and run XSplit in the background, because I haven't hadn't learned about OBS yet, capturing a constant feed during the entire event. The problem with this was that in the end, you have to sift through literal days worth of footage to find the good parts. And for a lazy person like me, that's just not gonna happen. So again, smart me, foreseeing this problem, I have also plugged in a high-quality microphone somewhere under the booth, recording the players' reactions. And by knowing that crowds tend to be loud when something interesting happens, all I had to do was check the audio peaks in my video file, making the act of filtering out the good bits much easier. That's how I ended up with this montage in the game's release trailer, which I think contributed a lot to the game's success. I'm planning for this to be a series of multiple videos covering those obscure stories about Move or Die's development. So if you want to hear about that time a Chinese company wanted to buy the Move or Die IP in order to make it into a loading screen for their FPS game, make sure to stay subscribed. I have a lot of weird stories to tell. But until next time, keep being awesome.